Okay, so this little girl here, her name is Nellie. She's an older horse. She was rescued, but she's been having a little bit of trouble with her feet, getting the kind of kicking at the farrier and not really wanting to be trimmed. So brought her home here for a week or so and see what I can get done with her. She's also a little hard to catch. You know, she has a couple other little issues, but we need to be able to get her feet done too. So when I work on her feet and do a lot of this stuff, it's actually gonna travel over to a lot of her other issues that she has going on. So we're gonna be able to fix all that. She's just kind of going around here. And I apologize for the dust. It's too windy to actually water. So, Allie, go. So I need to, you're gonna get a little dust in this one, but that's okay. Not gonna do a whole lot of crazy stuff. So first I'm just gonna let her kind of get organized. She came late yesterday, and so she had the evening and the morning to kind of check things out a little bit. So I'm just gonna kind of wait on her here a second. And if I have to, I'll move her around, but I'm going to see if I can walk up to her. I'm just going to kind of cut her off here a few times until she comes to looking at me. There we go. Let's see if I can walk up to her. Her right side's her worst side. I've worked with her a couple times up at her house. Sure, she'll let me put this on her. There we go. All right. Just gonna pet her here a little bit. Say how do you do. It's about as tight as you can get, but that's all right. Now, before I put this on her feet, I'm gonna work it over her body so that she has a little bit better understanding about yielding and stuff to this lariat. So I'm gonna see if I can send her off. Put a little pressure on it and see if she comes off of it. Put a little pressure on it, see if she comes off of it. There we go. Good job, kid. I'm going to try not to unsettle her too much here. But if I work with it around her neck first, which she's somewhat familiar with just haltering. I mean, she's okay, halter broke for the most part. It'll make a little bit more understanding to her before I actually put it on her foot and really panic her. So I want to kind of help her out here. No sense getting her hurt. I mean, sometimes accidents happen, but I sure try and avoid them as often as I can. So just let her kind of carry that for a second, put a little pressure on it, get her to yield off of it. Thank you very much. Send her the other way. Well, do you want me near or do you want me far? What do you want? And then I'll put a little pressure on that there. Good job. A little bit more pressure. Thank you very much. Give her a little pet. See how she's kind of leaning off away against from me and away against from me. A long morning already. Away from me. She's just not sure about life. That's what we're gonna teach her here. Send her back off again. Now I'm gonna start taking this rope and throwing it over her so that she can just kind of carry that there and feel it around her butt. She yields, that's all right. Eventually what I want her to do anyway. But see how she's kind of goose stepping there a little bit on that hind quarter when that rope gets behind her hind feet. So I want her to be able to get used to all that and be okay with things back behind her. She's gonna yield and that's all right. Wrangler, out. Go. Send her back off. Put this over her back. Let that get just up there above her hocks there. And around her hind feet. It's all right if she yields. Eventually she'll learn to be able to carry it unless I ask her to yield. That's better already. I just want things touching her back there. Now I'm going to apply a little pressure to ask her to yield, and she might kick out. There we go. See how she was ready to kick out? And I'm going to try and not let her kick out. See if I can let her work through not having to kick out. There we go. Gentle pressure. I'm not just going to haul off and rip her around there. I want her to get through this, to understand it's not going to hurt you. Okay, now I'm going to apply pressure. She gets all tangled up here. I'm going to see if I can help her out. If not, I just throw that down, let her walk out of it, and start again. Some people say, well, she just learned. Yep, she did. She just learned it's not going to hurt her. You can keep your horses, as I say, out of trouble. She'll learn to get it. If she gets forced and scared into it, it's not going to help her. There's times that we need to be able to help her by making her a little bit afraid. She's already a little bit afraid. Why make it more than she can handle at this point until she starts having some understanding? When she starts having some understanding towards it, we can add more. If you add too much too soon, you get these horses that are just too afraid. And there's times where she runs around like crazy, like when we did the flag and stuff up at her house and things like that. Okay, well it seems that my audio on my microphone when I was recording this went out, and I didn't know it because I'm doing this by myself. So I'm going to narrate over top of this the best I can. See how we can do this. I've only done this a time or two before. So what's happening here, and it's a little tiny picture on my screen, so I'm trying to figure out how to get that bigger so I can see actually what I'm even doing. But it's, I'm just still working on getting her to yield off of that rope. And I'm never going to pull really hard on that. What I kind of have is just kind of just nice and easy in my hand, and I just kind of hesitate my hand and stop my hand there a little bit. And when she stops, just give her time. There. Now as I have it over kind of her neck there, I'm going to try and get her to come and look at me occasionally a bit, and get her to kind of start yielding off of things. So again, just kind of helping her relax and understand how to follow that and be okay with that rope flipping around over her and touching her all over the place. And this just helps in so many aspects of so much of her other issues that she kind of has going on here. And then as I start getting her to yield back behind, and eventually I'm going to also start asking her to yield over her neck here. And it's just following it nice and easy. If they get confused and go the wrong way, don't get all upset about it. Don't, jump all over the place. Just relax and let her help her understand how to find it. That doesn't help her if you scare her into anything. She's an extremely, extremely sensitive horse. So just take your time on it. So if you kind of do as they so-call it, like when you cowboy on them or something like that, really get after her, it's just going to get her upset and she's not going to know what to do. Some horses every once in a while can handle that, but it's not necessary, especially on a little gal like this that's just really sensitive. She's actually pretty light. She just gets scared because she doesn't understand. So we're just trying to help her understand things. I'll get different angles, kind of help her It's not a set rule on anything, really. You find the angle that's going to help the horse. Find what's going to help that horse at that moment, at that time, and go by it. You just watch them. When they start getting a glimmer of understanding, go with it. If they start getting confused, help them. Explain it, just like teaching a kid. Explain it to them. Don't just tell them, you dummy, you should figure it out. Like that, when they get confused and go around, no emotion about it. Just allow things and work at it and help them get through it. Fix the coils on my rope occasionally. I want her to also start coming off of the feel of the pressure on her neck with that. We'll calm here. We'll be working on that. There. So I'll just angle and kind of help her find that feel. I'm going to start putting that up closer to her pole so that she can start following that feel off of her neck. This is similar to, and again, she gets confused, just send her off again, no big deal. But what that's similar to is like when you're working on neck reining and some of the more advanced stuff, even though it's off your body as well, they have to understand how to come off of that feel of that rope or their rein or line or whatever on the other side of their neck. But when it's on the opposite side of you or where you're pulling from, if you pull too hard, like if you have a snaffle bit or in here the hondo, when it's on the right side of her and I'm on the left, if I pull too hard and come across her neck like that, it actually pulls the direct pull the opposite direction of where you want. So if I pull hard across her neck, it's going to pull the hondo to the right. If I pull the rein too hard across her neck to the left, when I'm using the right rein, it pulls the snaffle bit out to the right, which then they want to pull to the right. So you always got to try and keep it so that it's just the pressure of the rope that's against the neck, not that you're affecting the bit pulling it the wrong way. You want them to come off of that feel there. So you want to work on that kind of stuff and get them to just follow that feel there. Because of all of her fears, every time she wants to come to me, I'll kind of help her out and let her come into me. I'll invite her in a whole bunch and send her off again. So again there, I want her to come off of that feel of that neck. And she's going to really start getting it here because I didn't get all ballistic about her when she went the wrong way. Because all she's doing is trying to follow that off to the right. She has to understand to follow what I'm asking her to follow. Follow across that neck. If she goes too far, just bring her back to me. There we go. Then we'll start putting that over around behind her. Sending her off. Actually, I think what I was doing there was undoing it from her neck. Flipping it over. Now Roger here is going to start getting that yearling out. I don't think he has any idea that I'm actually recording a video, so he's going to get that yearling out and start working on her. And so Nellie here is going to get distracted in a couple seconds. And so you'll see how I kind of work through that. Again, I don't have any emotional problems about it. I don't get upset about her wanting to go off there. I'm just going to kind of use that a little bit and help her learn to stay with me. I'm just going to make it a little bit more uncomfortable for her to go follow the baby, and a little bit more comfortable for every time she looks at me and comes back to me. So I'm just going to get a little feel there and kind of pick her up and bring her back to me. She wants to follow that baby. So you get a bonus here. You get to watch Roger working the clippers on the baby in little bits and pieces here. Again, I'm pretty sure he has no idea that I'm recording there, so he's going to just rub those clippers all over that baby who's a little pushy. So I'm just going to kind of help work here. Every time Nellie gets distracted, again, don't let the horse satisfy their curiosity about what's happening. Don't get all crazy and not let them look at anything. Every time you get them, if every time they look at something you get all upset with them, they're not going to have a whole lot of trust in you. You got to let them look. I mean, you look. When something goes on, you glance and go see what's going on. You don't want them so dead to the world that they don't care what's going on around them or what you're doing. You don't want them dull. You want them responsive, you want them alive, you want them paying attention. But you want them with you at the same time. Okay, so again, just getting her to yield off of that pressure. Nice and relaxed and calm. Just putting it wherever I can put it and having her follow the feel that I'm asking. And every time she gets distracted by the baby over there, no big deal. Just make it harder for her to be too concentrated over there and have her want to be with me. I certainly never mind having distractions. You want to be able to have them. Little baby's pushing on Roger there. So while all that stuff is going on over here with Roger and the baby, no matter how excited that baby gets, I want, Nellie to pay attention to me, be with me, be okay with all of everything that's going on, and be aware of it, but not get all upset about it and concentrate on it. Nothing worse than you're riding your horse and another horse gets excited and all of a sudden your horse is gone. Aware of it? Yeah. Make sure you don't get run over? Yeah. But you want them to still be able to pay attention to you. Just don't be not aware of everything else going on. So there I'm just waiting on her, getting her to follow that off. There. And every time she's willing to really come up to me like that, I'll meet her halfway if she needs it, whatever she needs at that moment. Again, there's no rules. It's just working with where she's at every moment. And it might change from second to second to second. Go with it. No emotions. Every time she wants to leave, just do with what you have. Put my hand up there. I want to start putting that rope over top of her a little bit more from up close. She gets upset. It's alright. Just start again. Help her figure it out. There we go. Bring it over around behind her. Now I've done a little bit of this with the halter and stuff like that, but now that she's actually been able to carry that a little bit more, that helps. So she kind of goes a little bit the wrong way. No big deal. Don't get upset about it. Don't pull harder. Just help. Just wait on her. I'm watching what's going on with Roger. See, I get distracted too. Helping her find that feel. I want her to bring that hind quarter across and kind of follow over to me a little bit. I don't want to just pull her over necessarily. I want that hind quarter to move. I want her to break free behind. I can yank her over there. There we go. I want her to kind of want to come through to me. Now again, Roger has no idea that the video is running. I'm certain. But so you're going to not see what's going on with me a few times, but you'll get to watch Roger playing with the baby. So bring that over there, help her kind of stand still, and gently pick up on it. I'm not pulling hard. I want those hindquarters to yield around and then that front to yield around. Nice and easy. She comes up to me. Give her lots of pets. She likes pets. She's just not sure that she can have them. And again, just making sure that when she follows through to me, the whole body's coming. The whole body, the whole mind. Not just pulling her nose over to me. I want her to willingly take her whole body and her whole mind and come over to me. Get the hind quarter to come across, the front quarter to come across. And come on up and say howdy. Very good. Lots of pets. Everywhere I can touch her, I want to be able to touch her everywhere. Again, putting that over around her, nice and easy, handles that pressure until I actually ask. The pressure meaning just the pressure of the line going around her hindquarters. I don't want her overreacting to anything. And there goes the baby. Well, at least she'll be able to back up pretty well. I'm assuming she was pushing on him when he was trying to get those clippers on her. So, there she overreacted a little bit and didn't wait for me. So now I'm going to help her wait for me. I don't want her just flying around every time she feels something. She's going to learn how to carry stuff and how to yield. Nice and smooth and easy. A nice bend in her body is what I'm working for. Now you won't be able to see me for a while. Roger's just kind of rubbing that clippers on the baby's face. Helping her accept that feel. For her ears, he's not actually clipping, he's just letting her feel that little buzz. There's times where I've had some horses where they're fine with the feel of the buzz, but when you go to actually clip the whiskers or something like that, that tickles, and that's what they respond to. So there's a whole bunch of different issues, sometimes with clippers. Sometimes it's the sound, sometimes it's just the feel of them getting closer, sometimes it's the actual clipping. Some of this should just kind of say, well, I don't need to handle that, so I'm not going to. I think back there I'm starting to take off her line and walk away and straighten out my halter and everything else, and I'm going to start putting that on her foot back there. You just can't see it. So just make a loop and try and get her to step in it. And I stay off to the side, because once I get that over her foot, she might jump at me a little bit with that hind foot. So I'm going to let her just kind of walk into that loop and stay off to the side and then get out of the way once it touches her. And she's going to get a little upset. There she goes. She gets a little upset because I put it on her foot. And I just get out of the way. There we go. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold that and just let her follow that feel of that after I get it on her foot nice and tight. There we go. And I'm just going to let her walk around for a second, just following that feel. Or not following the feel yet, just following what it feels like and letting her carry that weight on that hind foot, and not having any pressure on it, just letting her follow that. It's there. I'm not getting upset about it, just being on her. Okay. Now as she starts going around here, I'm going to start applying just a little bit of pressure onto that rope as she starts getting used to it. Now what that's going to entail is I'm just going to kind of wrap the coils over my hip. I'm just going to hold that over my hip with my left hand. I'm not going to have a death grip on those coils at all. It's just more the angle of it going around my body that's going to keep it steady. My body's going to get very firm and just stand in a really solid stance so that she's not going to pull me or move me around. My right hand just holds gently the rope attached to her, and it just follows what she's doing. Again, there's no death grip on it. I'm not holding it very tight. I just follow with my right hand. My left hand is my anchor. My right hand just follows her every move with just a little tiny bit of tension on that rope when I'm asking for it. And you got to be able to stay at an angle. If I get too far in front of her or too far behind her, her leg travels a lot further than my arm can, and I want to be able to stay steady, so I'm going to stay off on an angle to the side. If I get too far in front or behind again, when she moves that foot, it's going to rip it right out of my hand. Again, she is way longer than I am. That hind foot and that reach is long. Even though she's a little horse, she still has a much bigger reach than I do. I don't care if you're a, 6.5 foot tall cowboy. That reach is still longer. You don't get behind or in front too soon. You want to be able to follow that and not have to jerk it at all. And if they have little feet, they can kick that rope right off if you're straight in front or straight behind. So I just follow. My whole body just gets in a stance again to where I'm not leaning into it. If I lean into or away from her kicking at it and then she releases, that leaning hard onto that rope is going to cause me to come off balance. So I'm going to stay very steady. My whole core just settles down. My right hand is light. Just following that. Everything's about angles. It's not about strength. It's not about anything else. And again, no gloves. If you're going to hurt anything, hurt yourself first. Don't hurt the horse. Learn by getting a couple hands ripped open over the time, and you'll learn to not hang on to it so hard. Now as she starts coming off the angle there, I gotta move so that I can keep it to where I'm not going to lose that rope, and then I just try and put her back into a position where she's okay. I don't want that rope on the other side. I don't want her to step on the rope if I can. It happens from time to time, but try not to have it happen. And I just wait. In the beginning here, I just kind of want her to not fight, to not be stiff. I'll allow her to just put her tippy toe down on the ground and just relax that foot with me having it held out just a little bit further. Over time, I want to be able to pick up that foot and have it suspended in the air or on the ground, rotating it around, moving it anywhere where that rope is going to come. But day one, you got to do what you got to do to kind of get her started. Teach her step by step. This is what I want first. They learn really fast if you don't get too crazy about life. And again, no emotion. So I think I was just talking there about what I said earlier about don't lean hard into the rope. Then when she lets go, you're not going to be able to follow that. You're going to be out of balance. Always stay in balance, whether you're riding, whether you're doing this, whether you're doing groundwork, always stay balanced. You want your horse to be balanced, you want your horse to be athletic, you want all this stuff going on, you want them to be soft. You got to be there first. Kind of like lead by example, right? So that's what you got to do there. Again, we get to watch the baby. Bye, baby. So now I'm sending her off again. Let her carry that. Every time she makes an improvement, gets an understanding, gets even an inkling that there's some clue going on as to what I'm asking and her getting softer, I just let her go forward. Let her walk that out, and then I set it up and start it again. As you've heard me say on other videos when you've seen this stuff, although when I've done it before, it wasn't necessarily that there was a problem with the horse. It was just the normal basic colt starting type of stuff that I always do. This one has an actual kind of a scared spot in her, a little bit of trouble in her. So, anyway, you just let them kind of carry that off there a little bit, and then start again. But it really can save their life. They can you get hung up in wire somewhere, and or they get cast. This really teaches them just stop and relax. So here, I think what I was, you can kind of see it a little bit, but like I was saying before, there's no, in my right hand, the rope is hanging there. If I need to get a little bit more tension, I just turn my wrist a little bit, like to put my thumb up in the air, my pinky down. So as an example, kind of to sort of understand it, maybe, if you took a rope, threw it over the top of that rail there, and put a 10-pound weight on each side, you'd have 20 pounds of weight hanging on the top of that rail, but that rail isn't getting any tighter. It's not gripping that rope any harder. It's allowing it to just lay there over top of the rail. The weight is in there, but the rail isn't getting any heavier. Now obviously that rail's not going to move like my hand is, but that's the same effect. I'm not gripping that rope. That rope is just in my hand. And even in my left hand with the coils, I'm not holding really tight. I'm making sure it's not going to go anywhere, but I'm not gripping it tightly. I'm using angles to help hold it in place and then following softly. If I grip really, really hard, I lose the feel. Such as if you want to take somebody's pulse, you put your fingers on that pulse point. If you squeeze as hard as you can to try and get that pulse and you push really, really hard, you're probably going to only feel your own pulse and cut their circulation off. You're not going to have any feel to that pulse. Same thing here. Don't get hard. Don't get heavy. Don't get so tight, because you won't ever feel a thing. And then, just like what I was saying, you have that rope over top of there with that weight. If you start taking weight out, like say you have sandbags and you punch a little hole in the bottom of those sandbags, those 10-pound sandbags on each side. As that weight starts coming out because the sand's draining out of those bags, the rail doesn't change. It doesn't get heavier. It doesn't grip harder. It doesn't go anywhere. It's just that weight gets lighter. You still have a feel for that. As they release, you don't just totally throw them away and drop everything under the sun necessarily, but they learn to feel that it's just there, like you're just holding them. I'm basically holding that rope no harder than if I was helping a toddler walk and I was holding their hands up over their head, and you kind of walk behind them while you're holding their hands up. If you squeeze those hands really hard, first that kid's just going to be screaming and never going to want to walk again because of how terrible it felt to try and walk, because you're squeezing them. But you're just guiding, you're helping, you're holding, you're supporting, you're going with them. I'm not holding hard, nice and light. She gives, I give. Everything kind of goes. It's just soft. If I need more, I just get an angle and I go with her. Sometimes she can really get hard, but I don't get any grippier, if that's a word. It just is there. So she's going to look back and kind of chew on things a little bit here and there, but I want her to just relax. And I'm going to get this one side really good probably today, because we've been working at it for a while. You can see she's not all sweaty, and it's pretty warm. I mean, yeah, the wind's blowing pretty good, but it's also pretty darn warm. And sometimes they'll have some emotional sweat going on, but I'm not running around. I'm not running around. Everything's cool and calm. There's no emotion there. If you get so emotional because the horse is fighting you and they just weren't 5 seconds ago, stop. Get off. Get out. Do something else. There's no emotion involved in this. You're teaching. You can't get upset when you're teaching. Kind of help her walk off there a little bit, because she made a really nice change there. Just, again, anytime she gets a hint that she's starting to really relax into it, let her go forward. And the baby says, "Dude, man, shake that off." So now he's going to take her and let her go rest for a while, and I guess he'll pull her out later. I don't know what he's going to do. But now again, she's going to get a little distracted by that, so I'm going to use that here in a second. She's going to get really distracted by that baby and walk towards that baby. I'm just going to put a stop to me and let her feel that through the rope. And she stopped nicely, and that's what I want. When they're going down the trail and they get hung up in a wire, I want them to freeze, not go ballistic. When they feel that pressure, stop and release. Don't panic. And yes, you can teach them over time. They can figure it out really well. So if you had to teach them to open a heavy gate or to dally and drag something, they will learn when to go into that pressure when you ask them to, and when not to go into that pressure. They really start, they're a lot smarter than a lot of people give them credit for. Everybody says, stupid animals, but it's not them that are stupid. It's you just not having figured out where they're at yet. Don't get, mean with them. No reason. No emotion on it. Just kind of help them. And they'll stay with you through thick and thin. There, she makes some good changes. And off we go. But you want them to kind of relax. If they get stuck somewhere, you want them to wait for you. Now eventually, if you're not around for a long time, they might try and get up or get out. But you can see there, I'm just stationed, following her, helping her follow me. Just waiting on her. Bringing that foot out. Anytime she kicks and stuff, but it's getting less and less violent. Now pretty soon here she's going to all of a sudden have a little explosion, and that happens. They start really making progress, and then all of a sudden they get kind of arg, let me just take care of you, see if this happens. And they got to explore. They got to see what their options are. You got to explain to them what their options are and what their options aren't. And, you got to let them try, though, until they always understand that just follow that. And you see I got after her a little bit there. I said, no, move off. Don't come running at me, because she was, angry because I have this rope on her leg. And I'm not allowing her that freedom to do it. There she turned. I don't want to get that rope on the other side there where she can step on it and get hurt. Eventually you can tie all 4 feet together if you wanted to, but in the beginning here you got to help them. Make it make sense. But anyway, sometimes they'll go really well. They'll be nice and soft. They'll be starting to make an understanding, and then they're going to go, is this really going to be consistent? And they're going to try. They're going to say, wonder what happens if I do what I used to do for a second. And they're going to try that. They have to explore their emotions. They have to try. If you don't let them try, they're never going to learn. You got to let them go through that stuff. Never get upset about it if they try and defend themselves and do what they need to do to see what they can do to get rid of you, until they look for you for everything. It's nice though having these little guys when they just start making these changes. Just get softer and softer and softer. Here once in a while I yell at the dog for gets me annoyed. But so I keep going on this side, and eventually not today or on this one, but I'll work on the other side, but I'll come and revisit this side again. I want it so that they can go around here at a full gallop. I pick up on that line and they stop as fast as they can. I can lead them around by that foot, any of the feet, any part of their body. It just takes time. She has to be okay with you being in control of her feet. She's not okay with you being in control of her feet and control of her body. There's always going to be that resistance there. If you want to dance with somebody and you don't trust them that they won't drop you on the floor, you're always going to have a resistance. It's not going to be really pretty. You got to be willing to give everything to your partner. And this is what it is. She has to be willing to give everything to me and trust me. And if I break that trust ever, boy, is it tough to get it back. Don't break that trust. Don't get all mad at them when they make a mistake or if they question you. If every time they give you a question you come down hard on them, they're never going to ask you a question again. They're just always going to be, let horses walk on eggshells just like people do. When they ask you a question, answer it to the best of your ability. They don't expect you to be perfect. You're one of the most forgiving things in the world, but trust is a hard thing to build. Very easily broken. With everything we do with these guys, with people, it's all around. And like with this little gal, trust a long time ago before her owner got her, was broken somewhere along the line. You break that trust, it's almost a lifetime to get it back, if it's ever totally back. That's why I tell people, when you get these guys that just haven't had a whole lot done to them, it's so much easier. If nothing's been broken yet, there's nothing really to fix. All you're doing is teaching. But when you got to go back and teach, reteach, and refix all that brokenness and all that mistrust and all those questions they asked, and you just slapped them hard and said, don't ask any questions, you stupid animal, just do it whether you know it or not. It's a tough thing to get over. And it's always in there. But if you never let it get broken in the first place, it's amazing. She's just looking, trying to answer everything she can. Getting softer and softer. I want her to be able to let me suspend that leg up there in the air and move it around. She has to give it to me. And if I'm at the end of a lariat, she can fight all she needs to figure out and ask all those questions and work through all those issues when I'm not worried about, getting hurt at the same time. So if I'm worried about getting hurt, I'm not going to be able to stay as calm, obviously. So from a distance like this, it's nice. You can have a nice little dialogue, kind of work it out. See, she's just starting to relax. Sometimes these guys get to really kicking that rope hard, and it's singing a song even. That rope just starts whizzing. Sometimes you'll see me get in a funny position. I'm trying to mostly keep my hat on. Wind keeps trying to blow it off. Anyway, every time she softens and gives, I relax. Always ready to help and answer the next question. Like I say, the door's always open. I never want them to hesitate or even think twice about asking me a question. If I can't answer it right away, I'll figure out a way to answer it. Sometimes you gotta work on how to explain it. Sometimes you don't know either, then you work on it together. Horses are great teachers. And again, just let her kind of go off there. See, I go into total just walking with her until I'm ready to pick it up again. And never a heavy, hard grip. always light. I can take my hand and slide it up and down that rope. As long as she's not kicking at the moment, but even then I could if I was, if I'm fast enough. But she's just, there's no grip. Now here I'm going to go up. She's done a good job. I coil my rope as I walk up to her, give her a little pet, put my coils on her, and start walking to that hind quarter. There's nothing on her head, so if she decides to turn and nail me, she can turn and nail me. But if you're right up against them and you're paying attention to them, and you don't have emotion about it, and you just kind of explain it as you go what you're doing, you're going to be fine. Reach down there, pet, undo that lariat there. There we go. Loosen it up, and then get position where I can pick up that foot just a little bit. Nice and easy. Take that rope off. Set her back down. Give her lots of pets. Tell her she was a good girl. And walk away from her. She did a nice job. Very good. And eventually one day, she'll be able to come with me at the end of that. But day one, she didn't tear off and run away from me the very second. She let me get back there and pick up her feet. A lot of progress, really. Pretty happy with that. And then tomorrow, or the next time on this, I'll work on that side just a little bit more, and then go to the other side and go until we need to. Very good job.